Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for those who have been following me, I want to thank you and please continue to do so. We got to talk about Alabama again. As of tonight, they are planning on executing a gentleman and using pure nitrogen gas while he has a mask on to see if that works. This will be the first time that they have done this in the history of America. And they tried to execute him a few years ago through a needle, and they couldn't get a vein. And then the death warrant passed after midnight, and he did not die. And now they're going to try this new method of pure nitrogen gas, and there's all kind of controversy about this taking place, and that is supposed to happen tonight. But there's some other stuff that's going on in Alabama that I need to talk about, and the state of Alabama and what in the world is going on there. Alabama prisoners' bodies returned to their families with hearts and other organs missing. The bodies of two men who died while incarcerated in Alabama's prison system were missing their hearts and other organs when returned to their families. The family of Brandon Dotson, 43 years old, who died in a state prison in November 2023, his family filed a federal lawsuit last month against the Alabama Department of Corrections and said his body was decomposing and his heart was missing when his remains were returned to the family. In a court filing in the case last week, the daughter of Charles Edward Singleton, 74, another deceased inmate, said her father's body was missing all of his internal organs when it was returned to the family in 2021. Brandon Dotson, 43, was found dead on November 16th at Ventress Correctional Facility in Alabama. His family suspected foul play was involved in his death. They hired a pathologist to do a second autopsy and discovered that his heart was missing. The state of Alabama's outrageous and inexcusable mishandling of the deceased body parts are a reprehensible violation of human dignity and common decency. Dotson's family, while seeking information about what happened to his heart, discovered that other families had similar experiences. So inmates have died under suspicious causes at some of these prisons, and specifically Ventress Correctional Facility. And they have had autopsies done, and when the bodies have been returned to the families for them to have a funeral, these funeral directors are noticing while they're preparing the body for the casket that many of these inmates are having body parts missing, organs. This situation involving 74-year-old Charles Singleton's body is mentioned in court documents filed by Dotson's family last week. The inmate's daughter, Charlene Drake, writes that the funeral home told her that her father's body was brought to it with no internal organs. She wrote that the funeral home director told her that normally the organs are in a bag placed back in the body after an autopsy. But 74-year-old Charles Singleton his body had been brought to the funeral home with no internal organs. So that happened to 74-year-old Charles Singleton. He had no organs when the family retrieved his body. And Brandon Dotson, who was 43 years old, he had his heart missing. What in the world is going on in the state of Alabama? They're getting ready to execute a guy tonight using pure nitrogen gas with other people in the room. If that nitrogen gas seeps out of the mask, it could kill the other people that are there during the execution. and the pure nitrogen gas execution may not even work. And now they're finding out and discovering that multiple inmates have died under suspicious causes, and that their organs have been removed when they've been returned to their family members. What is going on? Alabama is harvesting organs, selling them on the black market. What is going on? The lawsuit filed by the Dotson's family contend that the heart might have been retained during the state autopsy with the intention of giving it to the medical school at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So the 43-year-old gentleman, Brandon Dotson, who died under suspicious causes, they're saying, the lawsuit says that they may have delivered Mr. Dotson's heart and given it to the University of Alabama, Birmingham's medical school. And the University of Medical School wrote in a court filing that the university did not perform the autopsy and never received any of Dotson's organs. So they're just passing the buck on what happened to these gentlemen's organs. And specifically with the younger guy, Brandon Dotson. The medical school said they didn't do the autopsy and they have no idea where it's at. What is happening? Is this organs harvesting for transplants on the black market? There have been some conspiracies in bigger cities like Chicago and Washington, D.C., where there have been rumors of many African-American teenagers and kids that have gone missing and have disappeared in both of those cities in particular, and that there is this black market where they are killing kids, whoever is killing them, and stealing their organs. There's also a conspiracy that with this high migrant influx, that a lot of these Hispanic kids, between being sex trafficked, also are going missing and being murdered, found dead, and they don't have organs. There's been this rumbling, this underbelly and rumbling of organ transfer and organ transplants, and that's always a big issue in the medical community for people that have kidney issues, lung issues, heart issues, not having enough organs to do real successful transplants. And so now people are going out into the black market and killing people and harvesting their organs to sell, and that there is a big, huge market for this. But in the state of Alabama, they have very draconian laws and draconian thinking. Who in the world would want to live in the state of Alabama? You have a guy, as I said, that's supposed to be executed for the first time using pure nitrogen gas. They have no idea how that's going to turn out. This is their second attempt at trying to execute him. They've had botched executions in the past that have not worked with people that are not properly trained to do executions. And now you have inmates that have passed, and then they're stealing their organs. Their organs are removed from their deceased bodies. This is one of the most inhumane stories of a state that I've ever heard of. Now, I know Alabama was originally part of the Confederacy. There's been Jim Crow laws and racial dynamics that have played in these southern states for many years in our history. But this, in 2024, this is one of the most inhumane stories. Even though they're in prison and they may or may not have done wrong, there are plenty of people that are in prison for crimes they did not commit. And there's been times when states have executed an innocent man. That's why I'm not for death row and executions. But also to treat them less than human, even if you have done something wrong. They're still human beings. They're still childs of God. They have to pay their price for the indiscretions and the negative things that they have done in the past. But that does not make it okay for us as human beings to treat other human beings, whether you're an ex-con, whether you're an inmate in jail today, to treat them so inhumanely. And you're hearing about these stories all across the country. St. Louis, Missouri had an issue and has issues with uh, several people that have died in the St. Louis justice system. They've had like 9 or 10 people that have mysteriously died in the last 2 years that's under investigation. Incarcerating people that have done crimes does not mean that you treat them like they're less than animals. If you heard stories like this where people were treating their pets like this, there would be a major uproar. But for some reason, we think that putting people in jail uh, makes them less than 100% a human being, male or female, and that you just treat them any kind of way. There's no rehabilitation in our penal system, and most people come out worse than when they went in there. We have to have an adjudication of this entire penal system and judicial system to where one can still have his or her moral and ethical code still in good standing, whether they've done something wrong, right or wrong in society, and let them pay their debt without treating them like they're some zoo animal. Animals at the zoo are getting treated better than inmates in our United States judicial and penal system. This makes not an ounce of sense, and I would never live in the state of Alabama if they are treating these inmates like this. You have these draconian old laws that are on the books that are not serving a human purpose for these inmates. And if we're just hearing rumblings of a few people today, if you go back 60 or 70 years, how long has this been taking place? It's very important to know how your governor votes, legislates, your mayor, your city council people, your aldermen, your city attorney, your state Supreme Court. All of these laws affect your human dignity and your freedoms each and every day. So please take a look at this case with these inmates that are deceased, and then they had autopsies done, and their organs have been removed, and the families have filed federal lawsuits. Benjamin Crump is in on the case. And by the way, these are 2 white inmates. And when you're poor in America, it doesn't make a difference if you're black or white. Poverty speaks far and few between. This is a country that's about the haves and have-nots and not what's black or white. This is terrible that is taking place in the state of Alabama and how they're treating their incarcerated human beings. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.